on them because previously it was like you get released at this, and this. There's been multiple issues with the system. One, when you have set timers, people were doing this thing where they would hold fucking like knowledge of alts and stuff until they were suspended, and we even caught a whole server of information where they would have people pay money to get in that server and then pay each other so that they could like hold information, and then they like give out fucking pieces of information to use and give it to us. That's an issue.
Well, I agree with you there.
Is that now even if you snitch, your suspension is not gonna be like you can snitch all day long you want, but we're not going to consider. You can't reduce a suspension. It's until we decide that your suspension should be over. And now
I completely agree with that. By the way, you guys can hear me, right? Correct?
Yeah.
I'm having some audio issues. So with that, I completely agree that you shouldn't be hoarding on to evidence only to snitch as a get out of jail free card. I agree with that. The problem is you've gutted your justice system just whenever they want to feel like it, they'll unban somebody. So the exact same thing can happen twice, but the punishments can be radically different depending on any personal feelings or just whenever they feel like unsuspending somebody. There's a much better way to precisely tackle that issue than to completely gut the fucking structure.
I disagree because, first off, do you even understand how the current structure is? Because you're saying that there was a structure previously to it. Suspensions were given based off determination of how the investigation goes.
Oh, I agree with you, but whenever you disband someone, whenever you disband somebody, was it a 2-season blacklist, correct?
No, it depended on exactly what the circumstances were. There were no set standards for anything. See, that's where I think the confusion is that you think there were set standards. There was never set standards.
So then why remove... Why just make it, we're just going to keep them blacklisted
because
until we
now
feel like it?
We're keeping a personal list of when we're going to consider to remove people's suspensions and not make them public. Because now, if you try to violate the rules and you know that you might get this length of suspension, this is the problem that we're having. When people have that mentality, they're opting to take the suspensions, and it's becoming a huge nuisance on operations and the whole, just a bunch of issues. Because we already talked about the server issue. Another big issue is operations. People do not care about disbanding. Even if I threaten them with fucking bans, it's not fucking working. Because they're like, well, I will take the suspension. It doesn't matter. I'll get reduced because I'll provide some knowledge, some bullshit like that.
Why didn't you just make it so you still... Because here's my problem. I don't like people getting suspended or banned and not knowing the duration of what it is. Because whenever you appeal something, it's not a proper appeal process. It's appeal only in name. Because the same people who decided that rulings are going to make the actual judgment. Because you can appeal something that should say, no, fuck off. Like, that's quite literally what an appeal is.
And I will 100% be honest with you, that is exactly what we do with some people. Because I'll say this, every single ticket is logged. Every single ticket is accessible. If anyone has an issue with any single process, I don't think people realize, like, there are some people in here that are complete pieces of shit and should not be in this league. And so, yes, we will decide the duration of how long they should be suspended for because some people don't fucking learn. One of the most prime examples is fucking Marcus. That kid, because this is one thing you can't say about us, we will give you repeated amounts of chances. No one, and this has been my thing for forever, no one has ever permanently banned. That has always been my thing. I don't believe in permanent bans. I do believe people can change over time. But there is people in this league that have not fucking changed even after so many chances. Marcus was suspended 3 fucking times prior to his most recent suspension where he decided to fucking just straight up cheat in the game. That's what I'm talking about, people like that. Well, you can't give them time suspensions because when you do that, then you're just creating a problem for yourself because they'll just keep getting on suspended and they don't learn. That's
here's my thing. There's a saying and it goes, it's better to let 10 guilty men walk than imprison 1 innocent man. And the almost nonchalant attitude we're taking towards suspensions and whatnot, where appeals really aren't taken seriously for a majority of people, and even if they are a piece of shit and you don't want them in the league, and they probably shouldn't be, you need to play the game with some type of role. There needs to be set structure during it.
Well, I disagree, though, because this isn't the justice system. This is a league where you're given the privilege to participate in it. See, this is where I disagree, because you're trying to defend these people as if they're people that are just playing the game just to play the game. They're being falsely accused. No one here gets falsely accused. Everyone that's suspended is a piece of shit. There's a reason you were suspended. If you are clean, you don't cheat, you will never, ever be suspended.
No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, even if those who are accused, they still deserve to have the rights. Because, I mean, if you just have this, we're going to keep you suspended because you've done this, this, and this before, and we'll figure it out eventually, that's going to open Hell's Gate. I'm going to be honest with you. It's not a very good standard to set. Because if you just don't allow somebody to appeal their decision...
Hold up. There's an issue in the game. Hold up, Jfish. What's the issue in the game?
So basically, the Buccaneers scored in the third quarter with 0 seconds left, and they're trying to 4th and 25 because they called 4th and 25.
No, you can't.
No, you
Brains are
can't.
the
Can't
technical.
do
Okay.
that. Can't do that.
Yeah, I just want to make sure. Thank you. Sorry.
Anyways,
Yep. So, like
all right.
in
I'll tell
principle,
you right
I
now.
get. Mm-hmm.
So, skate has been running Sprint for a long ass time.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't see what you mean by. All right, are you because basically what you're basically accusing us is you're basically accusing us
Well,
that we're going to be
let's
corrupt.
be careful about the
is what
terms
accusation
because I'm
is.
not accusing you. I'm not accusing you of being corrupt. I'm saying it opens the doors for way too much corruption to occur. I'm not accusing anybody of it.
See, but this is my thing. If we
Mm-hmm.
have a track record of not being corrupt, how does that open the doors? If
Well,
the
I mean,
system's
like, yeah, I
technically
can.
not changed, it's not technically changed. You're thinking it's changed. I don't know where this
Well, hold on,
tells
hold
that
on.
it's changed.
Well,
It's not
in that
technically changed.
same methodality, we could say, oh, we can give non-violent criminals firearms, and because they're never been violent, nothing will happen. At the same point, allowing or making it easier to do an unethical act doesn't make it just. I don't think that you should be able to just suspend anybody.
Vitals, you
Hold
know
on,
that-
hold on. I'm talking. It's a
Oh,
debate.
Vitals,
I haven't
Vitals.
interrupted you. So you can't
okay.
go. You can't go, and we're just going to suspend you for whatever amount of time because we're just sick of dealing with you. At some point, that's going to be abused. There's a human element to it.
But that's the thing. But we can't. But what? I don't.
How
I
can
don't
you
think
not? That
understand
was quite literally the rule that you made. It can be abused.
But no, I don't think you understand. You're saying that you guys can't just go out there and decide that you don't want to do this. But we can. I don't think you understand that. The people we're keeping out of the league aren't people that we're just keeping out of the league to be dicks. That's never been. You cannot name a single person.
That's not what I'm saying.
But yes, is that not what you're saying right now? You're saying that you can't be the arbiter of deciding how long someone can just be out of the league and just decide you're not going to deal with them. But we already do that.
What I'm saying is your punishments need to be consistent with prior rulings. And this ruling that you've made, you're not setting yourself up for that. You're setting yourself up for each ruling to be subjective and contradictory.
They don't have to. They don't have to.
They're all different. It's all based on the situation. They're never the same.
Yeah,
No
each
same.
ruling is going to be different, but if two exact things happen, the punishments should be exactly the same regardless of who did it.
Well, no, it does matter who does it. There's a big difference between it being the quarterback of the team, between it being the player of the team, between being the franchise owner of the team. There's too many circumstances for there to be a single standard system.
So if a wide receiver ults, it's different from a quarterback ulting? Is that what you're implying?
Actually, yes, it is, because
What
the majority of the time, it's quarterbacks that are the FOs. And if it's the quarterback that's in the middle of an ulti situation, the way it's handled is very different from a wide receiver that's ulting.
May I ask why?
Well, I just explained to you, it's because they're the FOs of the team.
So wouldn't it just be a disband of the team? How is it that much of a different
Well, see,
process?
that's the issue. Like, this is the issue with people that are in council. They just think it's a simple process. I don't think you guys understand. When we disband a team, it creates a major headache because there's a very set structure to how we promote teams without their. So this is one thing. You might be thinking that there's no set structure, but there is a structure set in to avoid biasness. There's a structure set in to avoid like problems like what you're saying.
What are those processes specifically?
There's processes where everybody needs to start in the same division. Mm-hmm. Unless you're a QB that has past experience, you'll start in Division 3. That was put in place. Okay, we have suspended 2 of our operations FOs for giving preference to their friends for FOs. So if you're saying that basically there is no system, I will ban my own council members for being corrupt if there is corruptness. I'll tell you right now. If you cannot name a single example of justice corruptness, then I don't see where this argument comes from. Because you can't say it opens the door if the door was always open. That's my point. You can't say it opens the door if it's always been there for corruptness. How is this any different, is my point.
Well, I completely agree with you there that, like, I'm not going to be able to prove council corruption because I just don't have access to that. I've simply stated a point that suspending or blacklisting people based off whatever staff feels like, there needs to be a set minimum and a set maximum. Because if somebody puts not safe for work in chat, that's completely different from alting in a game. But at the same point, there needs to be a set minimum and maximum for each specific offense. It can't be, well, this guy did this, so I feel like I'm going to do that. Like, because it's not justice at that point. It's not justice at that point.
It's never been like that. That's my entire point. You think there's a change in the system. It's never been like that. It hasn't been like that since season 1. There is no minimum. I mean, other than the 1 season minimum, there's no set how low you'll get suspended for. That's never been a thing.
So if that's the case, then why are we calling it a massive overhaul of our suspended and blacklist systems? If it's a massive overhaul but nothing's changed, that's pretty misleading.
Because previously people would be given an idea hold up, bro. If you're not up here, you're supposed to be up here. If you were not given, people are assuming that this is my problem. They're assuming their suspension lengths. This is what I'm trying to get rid of. There is no changes in the process. They are assuming how long they're being suspended for. That is my issue with this. Because I will give you a perfect example. Cardi, who just recently got suspended for a past offense. He came in my DMs and he's like, all right, it's whatever. I'm just going to get suspended for 1 season. That is the issue that I'm talking about.
Well, I agree with you.
Mentality, because he could be right. We might just suspend for a season. But now if people don't know how long they're suspended for, the idea is to avoid people trying to cheat in the first place, because there's massive amounts of cheating going on in this league.
Or what you could do is you could make it incrementally more harsh for the increasing of offenses. So the first time somebody else, it could be a slap on the wrist, and then you can increase the intensity of it.
But it's already
hold on, Volt. Trust me
on
it. But when we shut our doors and make all the rulings private, and we don't share any information, and this guy's banned, and we're not going to tell you why, and we're not going to tell you how long, that's not going to build trust within your community. If anything, it's going to lead to a closed door system where there's no accountability.
Well, see, that's where I disagree completely, because first off, it is a private league. So technically, you do have to abide by the rules that we set.
That's not the point.
This is not democracy, homie. This is not something where people decide and like rise and be like, man, this is unfair. No, I will tell you right now, we've already built a reputation on maintaining league fairness throughout. I have fucking forfeited an entire legendary vault because there was ulti, even though I knew it would hurt us deep down inside to have a shittier legendary. It does not matter. People have been suspended from the top bottom. I've suspended my own former commissioner for stat editing. I have gone to every single length to suspend people regardless of the level or position.
Which, fair enough. I'm not specifically saying that your actions would indicate corruption. What I'm saying is that with you telling people you're suspended, you're blacklisted, we're not going to tell you how long. It's not going to be consistent with prior rulings. What this is going to be is we're not going to tell anybody how long you're going to be out of the league.
Who said it wouldn't be consistent?
Hold on, Volt, trust me.
We never said that.
I'm not done. I let you talk. Let me. So, because whenever you suspend or blacklist people and you never tell them for how long, and it's just whenever people feel like it, then you'll revoke that punishment, that's not a very good precedent to set. Because I'm not arguing with you that you've never defended your league with corruption in the past. That's not the argument. The argument is whenever you have a closed door system and you don't tell people and you're not like crystal clear with what's going on, it's going to foster a mentality that people can get away with.
Okay, I got something for you. So let me explain something to you now. Okay. This is how it's always been, and it's how it's going to continue to be. If you're going to cheat in our fucking league, you're going to be punished for it. It's really that straightforward. There's no, oh, this isn't fair. None of that bullshit. It's straightforward, all right? I have pressed since fucking day one in this fucking league to make sure there is a fair fucking league. Any criticisms without evidence is called bullshit. So until you present evidence,
that's a straw man argument.
No. Let me finish.
Okay.
I'm gonna let you finish. You're gonna let me finish. So I'm gonna tell you something. If you're gonna go on media and bullshit and criticize an entire department without evidence, that's what bothers me, right? You're giving privilege to go into media. Don't criticize a fucking department like you don't understand how it works.
Mm-hmm.
That is my issue. So until you give me one example where my department has been corrupt, you have no argument. Until then, that is where that sits.
Well, what you just presented was a straw man argument, because what you just said is if somebody cheats in the league, we are going to punish them. My entire point was never that you shouldn't punish people who cheat or alt or like do anything not allowed within the league. My argument is that while you are able to do that, there is some point where it becomes an unethical decision. Because if you just suspend people and you don't say for how long, I don't agree with that. If you judge each individual action not based off a set minimum or maximum, I don't agree with that. So if you want to, hold on. If you want to agree to disagree, I'm completely okay with that, because I'm allowed to not have, I'm allowed to not share the same opinion as yours, regardless if I'm in your department or not.
Well, it doesn't matter. My point, no, this is my problem. You can go into media and criticize people for things that have never happened in this league. You can't be going in there because then you're the one that's creating the issues in the league.
Actually, I completely pointed out stuff that I didn't agree with set examples.
No, I don't think you understand my point. It isn't that you can't present your argument. It's that it bothers me when you go in media, people read what you're saying, and they're going to get this impression that we're corrupt because that's what the impression you gave off is. That is the impression.
I didn't say that you were corrupt. What I was saying is that this action, this closed door system, will probably lead to corruption. I'm being dead ass honest with you. It probably will. And if you don't think so and you think, nah, to hell with this guy, fair enough. The hell am I going to do about it? But regardless, I'm still allowed to put forth that argument because I didn't lie. I wasn't misleading. I put forth, I think it was 2 or 3 cases with Tubby and Wooga and Elijah, and I said, this is what's going on. I don't agree with it. Here's why.
Wait, hold on. Okay,
that's not a misleading
what about those
statement.
examples? What about those examples?
The examples? I feel
hold on.
like, so do you want me to go through them specifically?
Well, that's what I'm asking for. I'm like, you're talking about corruptness. You're talking about stuff like that.
I'm not talking about corruptness. I'm talking about things I don't agree with in the system that you're now inputting. I believe could lead to corruption.
So hold on, but what I'm saying is I want to see specific examples used. You have 2 examples. Okay, let me hear these examples. What are the examples you tried to use?
One of the things, now they are not indicative of corruption. Wooga left Tubby after they got first rounded and blown out in the fucking playoffs. In return, Tubby released alt knowledge from 2-3 seasons ago, not because he cared about alting, but just because he wanted to get back at somebody who left his team. And then Justice went in and they suspended Wooga. I don't agree with that because Tubby's not reporting that for the betterment of the league. He's holding on to dirt and just releasing it to the Justice Department whenever it's convenient for him.
You realize we demoted somebody in council, right?
For what?
Because he was involved. That this wasn't a report against Wooga. See, this is what I mean. You guys don't understand the facts. This wasn't a report against Wooga. This was a report against Cardi, our own staff member.
I'm not talking about Cardi.
But that's who the report was against. That's what you're not acknowledging. Wooga was suspended because he was the one that altered for Cardi. Cardi is the primary person that was suspended.
I'm not talking about whatever Cardi did. It doesn't matter to me.
What?
Like, yeah, I just don't really care about Cardi. My thing is Tubby withheld that information until Wooga left his team. And he only released that when it became convenient for him. Regardless, this argument that we're having right now, it's really not indicative of the point of we're trying to talk about corruption. I don't agree with the ruling. We are okay to agree to disagree. Regardless, I don't feel like
you don't agree with ruling with what? Wait, what are you talking about? You don't.
I don't. Hold on. Hold on. No, I'm not talking about that. I'm not talking about that. Specifically, I'm talking about suspending people for whatever we feel like amount of time and not telling them when they get unsuspended. I don't agree with that inherently. Now, I'm not talking about Cardi's all saying I don't know. Fair enough. But if I was in the Justice Department, I feel like at some point alting needs to have a statute of limitations. Because you can't hold on to dirt for 4 or 5 seasons and then release it when it becomes convenient to you.
Don't move me up here, bro. Anyways, no, that's still, hold up. Are you saying we shouldn't punish people for alting in the past?
My thing is people are just holding on to that shit and releasing it when it becomes convenient for them. And I really dislike that. I don't like it at all.
Why does that matter, though? Because if you're cheating, okay, this is my thing. This is what I don't understand with people in this league. If you don't cheat, you don't ever have to worry about being suspended. That's what I don't understand. It's like this whole this should be a fair trial and shit.
Well,
no, it shouldn't.
Why isn't Tubby suspended for alt knowledge when he held on to it for 2 seasons and only released it whenever he reported it to Justice? Yeah, exactly. That's the point.
See, but that's the thing. How are we going to ever know if we punish the people that snitch on others? If we were to do that, half our cases that we've ever had would never come out. People like Elijah cheating in the past and stuff, that shit would never come out unless, how are you going to punish people for snitching? If you start punishing the snitchers, we're never going to get any information or any tips on anything. That's the thing.
Well, if I'm being honest, if they hold on to it for 4 seasons and only release it when it becomes convenient for them, it's just going to be people are just going to stock hold information and then release it on other people when it becomes convenient for them. I don't agree with that.
That's exactly our point. That's exactly where we should be at a complete agreement at that. That's why it changed. Snitching now can't get your seasons reducted. Look, I still disagree though, because if you are cheating in this league, you need to be punished for it. Agreed. I don't understand.
Well, see, look, my problem is the method. Hold on. The method of which that information comes up is critical. It's important because you can't hold on to it for 5, 6. What can somebody get suspended for alting in season 1? If there was undeniable proof, would you suspend somebody for alting in season 1?
No. If you wanna amount that, we just won't even consider them. It's about 10 seasons, but this isn't that long ago. This was literally 2 seasons ago. Mm-hmm. That's been 2 months.
Well, regardless, Tubby's guilty of alt knowledge and only reported Wooga whenever he just fucking left his league because he played like shit in the playoffs. That's the only reason he reported it. So
that is not why he reported it, but okay.
Yeah, I mean, hold on. Wooga, but it's not about Wooga. It's about Cardi. That's what you don't understand. The Wooga wasn't the subject of the report. He was reporting Cardi. I don't think that's what you understand. He didn't report Wooga. When he reported the ticket, it was against Cardi. This was targeted at
So-
Cardi,
So
not Wooga.
if I don't specifically understand the ticket, then let's go through it.
Well,
if-
just explain. It was targeted towards Cardi. I don't understand
what
what's targeted.
specifically was targeted
okay,
towards
Vitals,
Cardi?
I'll explain. Cardi
Mhm.
reffed his game. Tubby didn't like Cardi's reffing, so he reported Cardi to get him suspended. That's what happened.
Mm-hmm. And so how did Wooga get suspended throughout this?
Because
Because he
Wooga was the one that ulted.
Yeah.
During that game?
No.
Oh, he's the one that ulted on Cardi's team.
Yeah.
Did Cardi
That's-
snitch to get his sentence reduced?
No.
No. Say you can explain.
Okay. Cardi signed Wooga's ult 2 seasons ago. Tubby knew about this. Tubby reported that fact to get Cardi suspended, and as a consequence, Wooga also got suspended because he
Jesus.
was the one who was ulting.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about, bro. You guys are trying to this is my point. You guys understand why I get upset. You guys go in media and rant about things you guys aren't aware of.
Well, if you don't want people to talk about things they aren't aware of, then you should make them aware of it instead of shutting down the entire league to any information about the rulings. Wouldn't that be reasonable? Because
the
if it
reason
pisses
why
you
the
off that
rulings
much,
aren't
you should
public-
inform people.
You want to know why we don't inform people? Because
Why?
then you guys go around making big scandals about things, and then you know what happens? It inspires other copycats to do the same thing. Like when there was CP in the fucking league, the thing you complained about, every time we post about someone posting about NSFW, guess what would happen? We would get more fucking NSFW
So
cases.
if you tell somebody that they've been suspended for X amount of time because they did this, then everybody's going to start alting because they saw a guy get suspended for seasons because of it?
All
Is that-
suspensions, if you're talking about we don't have a process, all
Well,
the people that are suspended are free to talk about their suspensions. They get notified on a personal basis.
Well, my thing is, if you don't want people talking about things that they're not properly educated on the rulings, then why make the rulings so private? And
Why don't you ask? Why don't you ask?
I did ask. I actually did.
You
And
didn't ask. What did you ask?
I actually made a ticket about it an hour ago. And it was
To who?
just Vol's decision. Ticket close.
Why didn't you ask the person that got suspended?
The person that got suspended, I did ask, and that's what I got told.
And
So
what did he tell you?
He told me that Tubby reported him because he left his team after the playoffs. And then I made a
he's
ticket
lying.
about it.
He's lying.
Okay,
And
well
you
then,
believe though.
well then, the basic course of action would be, if people talking about rulings irritates you so much, why wouldn't you make the rulings public instead of just not allowing anybody at all to understand what's going on? And we're just going to suspend people for however long we feel about. It's not a good system, bro. Don't like
So-
it. And I'm allowed not to like it.
We already suspend people for however long we feel like it. That's
Yeah, I don't know why
already a
that's
system in
that's what
place.
I'm trying to explain. That's always been a system in place. I don't understand what you're complaining about.
Then,
My
then,
thing
it-
is
then it's not a massive overhaul. It's the same system.
Yes,
Indefinite.
that's what we're telling you.
Mm-hmm.
see, that's what I don't think you understand. If you don't cheat in this league, why do you care? That's what's bothering me. It's if you don't cheat, why do you care about the people that get suspended? Because if you
if the
really want to know why they got suspended, it comes out eventually anyways. You can ask the person why they get suspended. No one who's ever been suspended
Didn't I
or
just
banned
do
is
that and it
innocent.
didn't work out?
Because why do you care about a player unless he's on your team? Why did you look into the Wugga thing? I'm
Because
curious.
I care about people regardless, and I'd hope the rulings are consistent with your prior ones. And I can care about somebody regardless if they personally benefit me or not.
Okay, so let's say this. Okay, so you know about his ruling. So is it unfair?
Is it unfair?
Yeah.
I agree that he should be suspended. I also think there should be a statute of limitations. I also think that Tubby should probably be suspended for alt knowledge, as you suspended Catfully for the same thing. The only difference was Tubby reported and Catfully didn't.
Exactly.
Exactly. So, but that's the thing. I don't think you're understanding this part. If you start suspending people that snitch, whenever you're going to be informed about things. Exactly. That's my whole point, bro. If you suspend the snitchers, when are we going to ever
Here's
find
the
out
thing.
about
But
ulting
if they know
cases?
if they know about it for like 3, 4, 5 seasons, then it's different than reporting it immediately when they know. Is it not?
Look, you could argue that it might
It's a
be
simple
different.
question. Is it not? Is it different? It is.
No, not really, because at the end of the day, what we want to do is punish the people that are cheating and promoting the cheating. Cardi was promoting the allowance of a fucking alt onto his team. I don't think you understand that. Sure, Tubby knew about it, but you're going to hold him to the same accountability as these guys that actually cheated?
If he knew about it no, because it's obviously a different thing. It's alt knowledge. You're comparing alt knowledge to actually alting. Of course, it's a different thing. But regardless, if you hold on to something for 4, 5, 6 seasons and then you report them whenever he leaves your team after the playoffs or whatever, it doesn't change the fact that it's still an unethical thing. And if they knew about it for 4 or 5 seasons, it's a completely different thing than reporting it immediately.
Let's use your logic here for a bit, okay?
Well, let's go for it. Why not?
If we suspended Tubby for snitching, he would never have reported the information. Cardi wouldn't be suspended. Wugga wouldn't be suspended, and we wouldn't know about them cheating, right? So we wouldn't know. So it doesn't help anybody.
It's still fostering an unhealthy segment within the league of people just.
No, it's not. No, it's not an unhealthy.
Oh
segment
fuck yeah, it is. People are just hoarding shit on each other.
And that's why we're changing this. So you can no longer stitch down suspension, so people aren't going to hoard shit until they get suspended anymore.
Exactly.
But we're just not going to tell anybody how long they're suspended for. It's just going to be for whatever mods feel like. And you can say it's always been like that. You can say it's always been like that. It doesn't change the fact that I still don't agree with it.
Well, it doesn't matter if you agree with it at the end of the day, because
if it doesn't matter, then why are we having the debate? Why did you bring me on the stage if it didn't matter?
Because I'm trying to see where this logic is coming from in your media segment, because this is my issue, right? I don't understand people in this league that want to defend people that cheat. I don't get that shit, right? Listen, we don't even give out a prize in this fucking league, and the amount of cheating we have is fucking ridiculous. So to see people try and defend a process for these fucking guys that continue to cheat is disgusting to me personally. That's why I find it disgusting.
I am not defending the cheaters. I'm criticizing your method of prosecution. It's two very different things.
Okay, I got a perfect example for you. So, so El Salvador, let's use a real life scenario since we did this earlier, right? El Salvador, right? Recently, back a couple of months ago, they had severe problems with gangs, right? And if you did the ethical, system that the U.S. does right now, where everyone gets a due process to prove that they're gang members and everything here and stuff, that hasn't really worked out well in the U.S. So you know what El Salvador decided to do? Is that they threw every motherfucking gang member into fucking jail and they start cleaning up the streets. This is the thing. I don't believe in this mentality of, let's do this whole due process, because everyone gets a fair chance to defend themselves. When every single time someone's suspended, they get painted a fucking bread, and they get told about their suspension, and they get told they have 24 hours to appeal. Every single person. Everyone that's been suspended knows about that. They can't lie. They can't bullshit. We have every single thread saved. My issue is that when you try to do this system of where you have, set minimums and stuff for people, is that people try abusing it every single time.
Well, then maybe you should make your legislation for the rules better instead of completely ripping out the structure. Maybe you should have more thoughtful maximums and minimums.
Or I got something for you. Or we continue our current system of heavily punishing those that cheat until they reform their ways, which we have done for the last couple of seasons. And guess what? Some people have reformed their ways. Some people haven't. So they continue to be banned. They continue to be suspended from the league. It makes no difference to us. At the end of the day, the only thing that matters is making sure by the time we reach that Legendary Bowl, that it's a clean Legendary Bowl, and the people that got there were clean.
No, I agree with you, but the methods of which you achieve that is definitely going to be important. Because to you, it just doesn't seem like the methods matter all that much.
No, it doesn't. At the end of the day, if we get the person that's suspended, it doesn't matter.
I'm good. Yeah.
Because this is my issue, is that there's no corruption in there. And until you point and give us an example where there's been corruption, then you can't argue that case saying that, this leaves the door open. Dude, we've run this. Dude, I've been running leagues for 5 fucking years, man.
Yep.
That literally makes no sense. You can't make an argument.
Who's to hold anybody accountable? Because I can't, what do you mean you want me to point out an area of corruption when I don't even have access? I can't even look at staff chat. How the fuck am I going to find an example of corruption? It's not a very good argument.
My commissioner tickets are private and always open. If you ever find examples of corruption, I will 100% act on it. But this is my point, right? Is that, okay, I'm not saying that where you're coming from you're not trying to make sense. I'm not saying you're not making sense. I'm saying that you can't criticize our methodology when it hasn't proven to be corrupt. That is where my problem with this is. Well, is that our reputation has been clean for 5 years now. We have always maintained that. You can look through every single case ever. And unless you can show me a single time where we've made a corrupt ruling on that, then you can't criticize our methodology, because at the end of the day, the people that are getting suspended aren't people that are innocent. These are people that if
you are so boisterous about your squeaky clean reputation, then why do you hide the rulings and the suspensions?
Because I've literally just explained that, bro. When we had NSFW rulings public, when we had that, what would happen is that for some fucking reason, people would talk and joke about CP all the time, and then you'd have people that would post CP. I don't think you understand that. When you make things public, unless it's a prominent person, because anyways, it comes out.
Why are you allowing them to post CP into your? Why don't you just disavow embeds?
You did not just fucking say that. You did not.
I actually just did. Yeah.
Post CP. Why am I allowing people to post CP? Is that really what you're about accusing?
Why don't you just disable links? Why don't you disable image embeds, GIFs, all that?
Because why are a couple people going to ruin it for the rest of everybody else? For 4 straight months we haven't had CP issues in this league. But before that, we did have issues.
Yeah, I'm not so sure about that, man.
Actually, correction. Name a single time there's been CP posted in the chat in the last 4 months. Oh wait,
In the chat? Well, you just
I'm
said
talking about the chat.
no. You said CP as a whole, so you need to define your terms because
I'm
you
talking
said
about in
CP
our
as a whole.
chat.
In
I'm
the
talking about
chat, that's a
CP was
different
being
story.
issued in our
That's a
chat.
different story.
I'm not telling you, dude. What people do in their DMs, you can report on the fucking Discord. That is not my
Hold on. Let's
responsibility.
hold
I
on.
am not
Let's
the
hold on.
police.
Let's just like get this consensualized a little bit because we've been all over the place. So we've talked about how we go about the suspensions and how we punish people. Me and you have a fundamental disagreement, and that's okay. We also because now we're talking about CP and we're talking about like squeaky clean reputations. It's to the point where, I mean, we've diverted so much from the actual core argument here. I don't agree with suspending people without a set minimum and maximum, because when you remove those two limitations, then it opens the door for people to be unjustly punished with actions that are not consistent. So that's like CP and chat or whatever, or posting the rulings public. Those are completely separate debates and arguments to hold. So the one thing we're here is I don't agree with suspending people for however long people feel like. I don't feel like it's a good practice. And if you feel like that's a good practice, then we should agree to disagree and we can go about our nights. Because that's my core argument. Because we're talking about CP and chat and we're talking about like Elijah getting suspended and what happened with Wooga and Cardi. It's like, that's not what we're here for. So do you agree that you want people suspended for whatever staff feels like is appropriate without any structure dictating how that goes?
You're pretending like there's no structure to
No,
what we
it's
do.
it's a yes or no. You just said there was no structure because it's always been like this. So do you agree?
Because
Hold on.
we have set
Vol,
agreements on how long someone should be suspended for.
Vol.
You're not taking into account. This is what the thing. This is what you don't understand, bro. Every
up?
single case is individual. Every single case is individual. So yes, we all come together and we decide on how long that person's suspension should be. That's what you
Yep.
don't understand. There is no such thing as minimums, bro.
You keep
We
saying
do
I don't understand it, but the thing is that the explanations have never been good enough for it to happen. So here's the thing. Look, we can just close this out pretty simply because it's late night. I got shit to do. I guess you got shit to do too. So do you agree that staff should be able to suspend people for whatever they feel like is the appropriate punishment without any set maximums or minimums for that? Do you
We
agree?
already do. That's what I'm trying to tell you.
Okay,
We already
so
do.
it's a yes. So it's a yes.
Yes, we
Okay,
always have.
so then what we can
I've
do.
told you this from the beginning of the conversation that we've done this, bro.
Okay, well, I'm
I've
glad that we can
told you
get it
that.
figured out. So
Hey, hold on.
hold on.
Look, if you really disagree fundamentally, go make your own fucking league, bro. That's my fucking thing, right? If you disagree that badly,
But if you
go make your own
have
league, go run a
if you have
15,000
any
member league, and you tell me how that goes for you, bro. Because you understand, everything in here is done for a purpose, okay? We don't just do things to do things, bro. If you understood the full operation that goes here, you wouldn't be saying this right now because you would understand the issues we've had in the past, the issues we have in the present, and the issues that we might
But
have in the
at the
future.
same thing, Vol, if you take any form of criticism and then you go, well, just make your own league. It's like that's not a very good counter argument.
You're gonna accuse me of why do you allow CP in your league? It does get personal, buddy. Because I'll tell you something. Just
I
because
never-
you're a
I never
911
said that.
operator,
I never
just 'cause
said that.
You did say that. We all heard you say that. Don't say you didn't say that.
I'm actually recording right now, and I
Everybody
didn't say
heard-
that.
Everybody heard that. Like, why do you allow CP in your league? You said that shit. Let me tell you something, right?
Mm-hmm.
Don't accuse me of shit like that just because you're some fucking 911 operator that does these fucking nice shits, bro. When I've actually worked in a hospital with kids that have been fucking sexually
Well,
abused.
hey, hold
Don't
on,
talk to me like
that
shit
thing.
about
Hold on. That's a very honorable thing, and I'm happy about that. But regardless, like you going out and you making a difference in your community in that specific way, that's an honorable thing. But regardless, I don't agree with justice being able to individually decide whatever suspension for whatever they feel like for however long and not tell anybody about it. So I'm sorry. I'm not going to make my own league because, like you said, I like doing real life shit. I hope that you go out and you make as much of a positive impact as you can. Here's the thing, Vol. I'm trying to have a respectful resolution. I'm trying to have a respectful resolution. When have I insulted you?
You literally just said earlier, Skate.
If anything, I've been the most respectful because you kept saying, "Oh, you don't understand." It's like I want to have a respectful resolution. Like if you have any sort of criticism, and you're just like, "Well, go make your own league." It's like, no, I just want to offer. Hold on, Vol. You're interrupting so much. You're just
criticize my department.
You're interrupting too much. Just trust me, Vol.
Why do you decide to
Vol,
criticize
it's
the
not
party you
that
have no
deep.
knowledge of?
It's not that deep, Vol.
If you don't know politics, why are you talking about politics? So if you don't know how the
What the
system
fuck?
works, you're not
I'm not a Republican
Why
or a
would you talk about
Democrat. I'm a
this?
football fusion quarterback. Like what?
I'll give you an example. If you don't understand a system, why are you trying to criticize something you have no knowledge of?
I have no knowledge of.
You don't understand how we operate in the background. So why are you questioning something unless you have evidence of us being corrupt? Hey, look, dude, I've already told you, my doors are open. If you find evidence of being corrupt, I will 100%
Yeah,
act on it because that's been my reputation for a long ass time.
Mm-hmm.
You know about this. When you made that ticket about CP, I explained to you why we can't deal with it. Because
And
first off, you can't expose our staff to CP because that's illegal. Secondly, I told you to take it to Discord, and if it's in the leak, we'll get rid of it. I've explained to you when you made the ticket,
hold on.
bro.
So you agree that regardless, for people wondering, I reported people sending CP into TC and like brought it up to staff, but regardless, it's really a non-issue. If anything, that was by far inappropriate action by me, and it was respectfully resolved with you, and you handled that situation with class, and I completely understood it. But regardless, so I personally think that staff suspending people for whatever they feel like is not. I don't feel like it's a good course of
We don't
action.
suspend
You
for
are
whatever
you
we
hold on,
feel
hold
like.
on, guys. It's really not that deep.
Okay, well,
We can agree to
you don't
disagree,
do
and we
that.
can call the conversation skate.
You're literally.
I
I don't
hold on,
understand. You're using
guys.
this in
We're
a term.
done.
You're changing your tone in a way to make it seem like, oh, I'm not criticizing, but you are. Look at what you're saying very
I'm
carefully.
obviously criticizing you. That's why we're having a debate.
But you just said earlier you weren't. Like you
We
keep
weren't
changing-
having a debate, and that's why I joined a debate stage.
You just said you weren't criticizing and calling people corrupt. When if you look at your messages, you
I'm
were.
not saying,
You said it allows the
like
door
I said,
open.
I'm not saying individual people are corrupt. I'm saying the system. I'm saying the
corrupt?
system. I'm saying that the system may protect corrupt individuals. I did not name somebody. So
May
look,
protect. See, now you changed your
Vol-
wording on it. You've changed your wording on it.
I'm recording. I mean, if you want it to go up and then you could re-listen to it, be
Go
my
ahead.
best. So, Vol, I hope you have a wonderful afternoon. I believe that we're going to have to agree to disagree. Skate, the same with you. We've had disagreements, but they can be respectful. I hope you guys. I wish you nothing but the best. Have a good one, guys. Take care.